Hi guys, I'm back again today with another video, and today we are checking out why the Netherlands so rich, how it became the world's second largest exporter of food. So we'll see, and let's go. Subscribe, click the bell button if you haven't. Bye. I don't know what I'm saying.
This small country in Northern Europe is home to just over 17 million people. A good part of the territory is below sea level, which is why it is famous for its engineering works to face the challenges of constant flooding. It is also famous for being one of the most stable and wealthy countries in the world. By 2017, according to the World Bank, it had a GDP per capita of $48,000 higher than countries like Australia, Canada, or the United Kingdom. The questions addressed in the video are: what reasons explain the wealth of the Netherlands? How did the discovery of a natural gas field almost ruin the Dutch economic miracle? And how did such a small country become the world's second largest food exporter? One of the reasons that help explain the wealth of the Netherlands is trade. Its main port, the Port of Rotterdam, is the largest in Europe, ranking 10th among the world's busiest ports in 2019, above even the Port of Los Angeles in the United States. The Port of Rotterdam plays a very important role in the export and import of goods and raw materials, not only in the Netherlands, but also in Europe. In fact, it is often referred to as the largest German port because of its vital importance to the German economy, since most of the raw materials for German industry arrive through the Port of Rotterdam. But the importance of trade and the fact that it has the most important port in Europe is not new to the Netherlands. The Dutch have made international trade their main ally for centuries. Since the 17th century, the Dutch shipbuilding industry developed rapidly. The availability of windmills, a cheap source of energy, was present in almost every province. And the invention of the wind-powered sawmill made it possible to quickly process wood that was used to make ships. This enabled the Port of Amsterdam to become the hub of European trade and to create the Dutch East India Company in 1602, which was considered the largest company in history. It was something like the first multinational with 150 trading ships, 50,000 employees, an army of 10,000 men, and 40 warships. It was like another state within the Netherlands. It had monopoly privileges and was sometimes granted colonizing functions on other continents. But the most important achievement of the Netherlands was that the Dutch East India Company obtained a monopoly on trade with Japan, and in turn, through Japan, managed to trade indirectly with China. And that was significant because these Asian countries traditionally distrusted the intentions of Western traders. So, for many years, this Dutch company was the only entrance to the Western world to Japan, which gives the Netherlands exclusivity to trade exotic goods from Asia throughout Europe. Therefore, from that time on, the north of what would become today the Netherlands would become one of the main intermediaries in international trade. In general, the Republican government of that time was in favor of free trade and the autonomy of each of the 7 provinces that were part of the country. It was also tolerant of the establishment of immigrants who were discriminated against in other parts of Europe, such as Jewish merchants and French Protestants. Bankers from northern Italy also arrived. All these educated immigrants contributed to making Amsterdam the world's financial and commercial center of the 17th century. In fact, the world's first stock exchange was established in Amsterdam.
I remember that.
And that financial development also explains the current level of wealth in the Netherlands. The residents of that country were famous for their handling of finance and commercial credit. They created products and mechanisms for more and more people to access stock market investment. This attracted investors from all over Europe, so capital was abundant and, as a consequence of the abundant capital, interest rates were lower than in other parts of Europe. But this is not a thing of the past. Today, the Netherlands remains an excellent destination for investors and companies seeking stability and relatively low taxes. This is why Amsterdam made headlines in early 2021 when the United Kingdom left the European Union, as the Amsterdam Stock Exchange overtook the London Stock Exchange as the largest stock trading center in Europe. However, this friendliness to investment and private initiative not only benefits foreign capital as claimed by those who consider the Netherlands as a simple tax haven. In one way or another, this environment stimulates the Dutch entrepreneurial spirit. According to the 2019 Global Entrepreneurship Index, The Netherlands ranked 8th with the best score among 137 countries evaluated. In short, free trade, respect for the cult diversity of immigrants, and having created the first stock exchange, has attracted traders, investors, and entrepreneurs for centuries. In addition, its privileged location in the center of Europe and having wealthy neighbors such as Germany, Belgium, the United Kingdom, and Denmark are reasons that may partly explain why this country is so rich and enjoys the best quality of life indicators. However, as in all countries, the Dutch economy went through a difficult period. In the 1970s, the Netherlands discovered large deposits of natural gas in the North Sea. This, on the one hand, reduced external dependence on energy sources. But on the other hand, this sudden increase in wealth turned out to be a curse because it contributed to an unsustainable expansion of the welfare state. Public spending increased from 40% of GDP in 1973 to 58% in 1983. It was invested in generous social programs that encouraged healthy people to leave their jobs to rely on state benefits. Unemployment rose from 5% to over 17% in a few years, and economic growth was virtually zero despite natural gas revenues. Consensus on an urgent change in economic policy direction was reached in the early 1980s with an agreement between labor unions and employers. Wage increases and social benefits were moderated to stimulate labor participation and job creation. Public spending was also reduced, and indeed, the unemployment rate had fallen by the end of the 1980s to levels of 5%. The idea had begun to spread that the creation of private jobs was the best social policy. The unemployment rate would rise again to 7% in 2014, but in 2020, in the middle of a global recession, it was only 3.8%, one of the lowest among all OECD countries. Sometimes, due to the success of the employment generation policies, the Dutch case has been considered one of the employment miracles, along with other countries such as Switzerland, Australia, and Ireland. But if there is a miracle in this country, it is that it is the second largest exporter of food in the world with such a small territory. The climate, fertile soil, and flat land make the Netherlands a perfect place for agriculture. Crops grow relatively easily, but perhaps the most important feature of Dutch agriculture is the use of technology and mechanization of processes. They use robots and machines for almost everything. Their skilled labor force also plays an important role in this field. Wageningen University is the best agricultural education institute in the world. It has numerous research facilities where they are constantly looking for more efficient ways of farming. So, it is not surprising that much of the agricultural production is done behind closed doors in huge, state-of-the-art greenhouses. So, innovation, geographical conditions, and skilled labor explain part of the Dutch export success. However, there is another reason. About 60% of the products that enter the Netherlands leave the country within a short time in the form of re-exports. This is known as the Rotterdam effect, referring to the Dutch port mentioned at the beginning. For some countries, it is faster and cheaper to import through the Dutch port. In 2015, less than half of the exports corresponded to domestic exports. The rest were re-exports, that is, products coming from other countries that only made transit in the port, but statistically are considered as exports from the Netherlands. In short, this Rotterdam effect boosts the numbers of food exports from this European country. However, this doesn't diminish the fact that it is one of the most innovative, free, and prosperous countries in the world. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.
Okay, that one I understood more than the economical aspect of yesterday's video, because there's a lot of like computations and numbers that I was like lost, but this one didn't give us those as much, and it was explained really simply, so it makes sense. Just how Netherlands are so advanced in technology and it's also very sustainable is fascinating. Because over here we have a lot of agriculture, but it's very like old school, manual agriculture. It's very rare that you will have like sustainable greenhouses, modernized technologies in agriculture. It's only like maybe the rich private farming that do that, and those products are going to be sold obviously very, very expensive, and the regular farming very low. um it's just so we're just so stuck in maybe 90s or even 80s, whilst the world is like advancing, right? We advance in terms of like technology for entertainment, but not necessarily for advancement of our economy, right? We're kind of like, oh, we have high tech phones, we have like the latest laptops, televisions, refrigerators, blah, 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 that the person could have. But is our machineries and factory, whatever, whatever, like the most important things that we need for our economy and our country to advance, is are those technologies advancing as much as human technologies are, right? I feel like the priority of the country is kind of like, I'm not saying that we should give up our iPhone 25s and get like a Nokia or anything like that. I mean, if it's your phone, if you can afford, go for it. But I feel like we're so focused on trends, but we're not necessarily catching up to the rest of the world in terms of like, oh, let's find a sustainable way to do agriculture. Okay, but then the debate on that aspect is going to be no jobs for farmers. But then you can counter argue that it will actually teach farmers how to farm more efficiently, and then you're going to counter debate on that and say, where are they gonna get money to, da 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 da. Like, there's so much what if, da da da, like, it all makes sense. All the arguments that will be brought to the table will make sense, but I feel like we can come to a decision. We can get there, but I don't think the talks are being done to even get there. That's the problem. And the government is not helping. I mean, there is part of the government that will help, that is helping. It's not like everybody is a hole or anything. It's just that not enough focus is being given to that part, and we're just falling behind. We're just falling behind, right? In all aspects. Maybe I need to do my research on the Philippines, to be honest, so that I know how far in terms of like agriculture, education, medicine, how far behind are we? And then maybe I'll look for that video soon so we can like look side by side, and before I can make judgments, right? Maybe I'm the problem. I mean, I'm part of the problem, but in a large scale, maybe I don't know. I'm not educated enough to be saying these things, probably. But to be able to make those statements, I'm going to do my research, and I'm going to do it with you as a reaction so that we can see side by side Europe versus Philippines, or a specific country versus Philippines, so that we know what we're dealing with and where we're going wrong. But anyways, beautiful peeps, thank you for joining, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.